Hey friends, welcome back to Social Studies. Today is Wednesday, May 13th. Today you will be learning our second lesson of the week. Let's have a quick flashback. On Monday, we learned about exchanges, trading, and bartering. We were able to read Jack and the Beanstalk and saw some examples of each of these. We learned the difference of each term and even applied situations to our own life. We talked about trading and exchanging for sneakers or new shoes. So our target for today is I can explain what the economy is like in Brazil. So today you'll be learning more about the country Brazil. In this lesson, you'll get some background information about the culture and some things you might want to know about Brazil before we learn about the economy. Then we'll start to learn a little bit about what the Brazil is producing, what they're exporting and importing for other countries. Our second target is I can determine how the economy impacts the wants and needs in Brazil. So the economy in Brazil. We have learned a lot about economy and how it works in the United States. Today, we are going to learn more about the country Brazil. We are then going to learn more about the wants and needs for the people that live in Brazil and compare that to our own country in the United States. So here's a little bit about Brazil. This is a map of South America. In this map, you can see the big country right here, and that is Brazil. So South America is the continent that is below us in North America. So South America has all these countries, and Brazil is one of the biggest. This over here is a picture of Brazil's flag. You know that the United States has a flag, and this is Brazil's. This is also a picture of Brazil itself and one of the most famous cities in Brazil. I thought I would show you these pictures to give you a visual of what Brazil looks like and where it is in the country. So here's some fun facts about Brazil. Brazil is the largest country in South America. You saw that in the map we just looked at. Brazil is a federal republic with a president, a national congress, and a legal system. From 1888 until recently, the country struggled with democracy. So remember, in our country, we have a democracy. We learned about that last unit. Now, Brazil has a democracy as well. But in 1985, the military government was peacefully removed, and by 1995, Brazil's politics and economy had become fairly stable. The name Brazil comes from a tree named Brazilwood. It is called Brazil in Portuguese, the official language spoken in Brazil. Brazil is the only country in South America that speaks Portuguese. Around 60% of the Amazon rainforest is located in Brazil. So that's a little more than half of the rainforest is in Brazil. The climate in the majority of Brazil is tropical. So this means that it's kind of warm. Football or soccer is the most popular sport in Brazil, with the national team consistently among the best in the world, winning the World Cup a record of 5 times. So these are just some fun facts about Brazil and the culture of Brazil. I thought this would make it easier to understand the country that we will be studying. Take a look at this picture. Think about what it is and what it's used for. That's right, it's a picture of money. Over here on the right, you can see the US dollar. This is the type of money we use in our country. Over here on the left, you can see a different type of money or currency. This is the money or currency that Brazil uses. This is called a Brazil real. So their currency is called a real, while ours are called dollars. However, they're both used to buy goods and services. So let's take a look into Brazil's economy. Brazil has one of the biggest economies in the world. But like people everywhere, Brazilians have to deal with scarcity. So we learned that scarcity means not having enough. So Brazil, even though it's one of the biggest economies, still has to deal with not having enough. They produce many things domestically. So that means in Brazil. So they make a lot of things in Brazil itself. And they export or send to other countries the surplus or extra of what they produce. However, Brazil needs many things it can't produce, and it has to import these from other countries. So this means that Brazil has many things that they grow or produce in their country, and they send or export the extra or surplus materials or goods to different countries. But they also have to import the things that they do not have in their country, just like the United States. So what does Brazil produce? The people of Brazil fulfill their wants and needs by working in 3 areas: agriculture, services, and industrial. Brazil has many different soils and climates, so it can produce a great variety of crops. Its agricultural exports include sugarcane, latex, coffee, cocoa beans, cotton, soybeans, rice, and tropical fruits. Brazil is also South America's most industrial nation, producing chemicals, steel, airplanes, and cars. So here's a picture of how Brazil is doing in their economy. You can see in 2010 that the United States was the biggest, or the country with the most economy. And then we have Brazil down here. So think about it. Who has a better economy or a bigger economy, China or Brazil? China. Okay, so let's look at Brazil and Italy. What do you think? They're pretty much even. They kind of have the same type of economy as Italy. Here is the breakdown by sector, or the areas that we talked about before, and how much is produced in each area. So 66% of goods and services come from the service area, 28 comes from the industry, and only 6 comes from agriculture. So if I ask the question, which sector had more produced than agriculture? That's right, industry and service have more produced than in agriculture. So let's look at some examples of goods that Brazil produces. We have sugar. Brazil is one of the largest producers and exporters of sugar. Coffee, orange juice, beef, poultry, soybeans, corn, cocoa, cotton, ethanol. So ethanol is part of what you need to use for your car. So these are all examples of goods that Brazil produces. You can see that there are several that they're the largest producer and exporter in the whole world. So they're very popular for sugar, coffee, and orange juice. So if I was to ask you, what are 3 goods that Brazil produces and has extra to supply other countries, it would be sugar, coffee, and orange juice. So let's have a big takeaway. So the big takeaway from this lesson, you should have learned more about Brazil. You should have gained information about the 3 areas that Brazil produces in: industrial, agriculture, so like farming, and services. We know that they have more produced in services. You should also be able to name at least 3 goods Brazil exports to other countries. So we already talked about how they can produce and export the following goods: coffee, orange juice, and I want you to think of one more. If you need to go back, you can always go back to this lesson. What were those top 3? We said it was sugar, coffee, and orange juice. You can also come back and look at the other ones in these fun facts that I showed you. You can just pause the video. That way you can read more about what they produce in Brazil. So let's go ahead and review our target. I can explain what the economy is like in Brazil. We know that they have the 3 main sectors: agriculture, services, and industrial. Their biggest sector is services. I can determine how the economy impacts the wants and needs in Brazil. So we know a lot of the goods that Brazil produces and how they have extra so they're able to supply it to other countries. So now it is your turn. You're going to answer the questions and complete the Nearpod assignment. Please try each activity and try your best. You're going to be answering things about Brazil's economy and some things that they produce. You're going to do a great job, and I'll see you next time.